What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to my Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition playthrough. I've been meaning to do this for a long time. I know it's a little late in the game. We've already got Dark Souls 2 and 3 out, as well as Bloodborne. But I just wanted to go back. A lot of people haven't played this game, or there's kind of this stigma that, this game is so difficult, it's so hard. How am I supposed to play a game like this? Oh my gosh. So I kind of just wanted to make a playthrough to show people that, not only is this game highly underrated, really, really great design, but I wanted to show people that it's not this difficult game that it's made out to be. So I'm going to get right into it. I will say I'm going to be very thorough on this playthrough. I'm going to be reading all the item descriptions and getting into the lore. I'm not necessarily going to be getting every single piece of dialogue from every NPC. I do want, I want new players to watch this, and I want them to want to play the game. So even though I want to be thorough and go over the lore, so that you can see that there is a story to this game. A lot of people say, "Oh, Dark Souls doesn't have a story." There is a story, but I want to leave enough that new people can come in and have their own experience and possibly find some new things that they don't see in here. Starting class really doesn't matter. Any of the armor sets that you can find on these classes, you can find later in the game. So it's really just a matter of which armor and weapons you want right at the start of the game. If you're trying to min-max your stats, some are better than others. But for this playthrough, since I'm trying to show that this isn't that difficult of a game, I'm just gonna choose a class that has some better survivability. I would say that being a thief is probably one of the more difficult starting classes, and I don't really recommend it, except maybe to players that have already played through the game a time or two. But really, you can play any of these classes, even Deprived, which doesn't seem very good starting with crap armor. The spread in stats actually doesn't make it half bad, so any of these will work. But Warrior's good in the sense it has some really good starting armor and weapon. I also really like the Knight, just for its armor. It's a little bit slower. We'll kind of get more into that later, into roll speeds and equip load. But I think just to start this playthrough, just to be more of a well-balanced character with decent damage and survivability, we're going to go ahead and do the Warrior. The Warrior also has a pretty equal, well, perfectly equal spread between strength and dexterity. And I want to show you guys a lot of different weapons. So that's going to help me to have the stats to be able to wield a lot of different kinds of weapons. So we'll just start with the Warrior for now. You can, like I said, you can start with any of those classes. Knight is pretty good as far as a new character being able to survive well. So normally I would say don't pick anything but Master Key. If this is your first time playing, just pick Master Key. It's going to help you a lot. It's going to help you traverse certain areas in different ways, access better items at the start that you couldn't normally. But for the routes that we're going to be taking, I'm just not going to take the Master Key. I want to show you guys how to unlock the areas organically, so that if you don't want to pick the Master Key, then you don't have to. You'll kind of understand how to go along anyways. But I will show along the way how the Master Key can really make things a lot easier for you. Most of these I'm not too fond of. The pendant doesn't do anything. It literally has no effect, like the item description says. Tiny Being's Ring is decent. The HP recovery can be really good at first. Black Fire Bombs can be okay, especially if you're trying to kill the first boss the first go. I think we'll take the Tiny Being's Ring for now, just for that extra survivability. Like I said, I want to show people that this game's really not as hard as everyone makes it out to be. One thing to note too is I'm using the DSFix mod. This way I can play in 1080p. Typical default console resolution on this game is going to be 720p, I believe, 30 frames per second. So I'm not using any custom textures or anything like that. I want you guys to experience this game as it is, the armor, how it looks, you know, everything just like it would normally be in the game. But I did keep it at 30 frames per second. 30 frames per second is very sexy on DSFix. It looks great. It looks more akin to a Dark Souls 2 or 3 on PC. But I would say that I get some screen tearing issues sometimes. There's bad, weird collision detection. So keeping it at 30 frames per second, it looks a lot better. And I don't think for you know, viewing these videos on YouTube, 60 frames per second is 100% necessary, especially when the DSFix rendering at 1080p just looks great already. Alright, so we're ready to start. I'm going to go ahead and skip the intro cinematic. I'm going to post a link to that on my page so you can watch that separately, but we're just going to continue on with the, assuming that you guys have watched the intro video and seen all the events that are played out there, and we'll get right into it.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Alright, so a lot of information there. We know where one of these branded accursed undead, branded by the dark sign. We'll check out some of these items we have on us, which include the dark sign. Dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. Death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. So basically, we're branded with this dark sign that makes it so that we can't die. Every time we die, we are constantly brought back to life. So this is kind of a story integration of the game mechanic of, you know, restarting after you die, basically. Interesting too, it talks about going hollow. So eventually, through this process of being reborn over and over again, one day we will lose our mind and go hollow. We also have this black separation crystal. This black crystal, long a symbol of farewell, is granted to banished undead. The crystal sends phantoms back to their homes or sends you back to yours. So this is an online play item in case you have a phantom or a phantom you want to banish, or you want to return home if you've invaded someone, or if you're co-oping and you need to get out. So we'll be playing offline mostly, so we probably won't see much use of this, but we might have some times we play online. We'll see about that later. What else do we have on us? We've got this straight sword hilt. Hilt of this lost sword was found discarded in the undead asylum. only slightly better than one's bare hands, not recommended for extensive use. And we also have this hard leather armor with standard helm. Sturdy helm made of iron, very common type of gear, provides sound level defense. It is wise to wear a sturdy form of head protection against arrows and other physical threats. Yes, indeed. So this is basically typical starting gear for the warrior. Pretty decent stuff. Light, but still decent protection. One thing that I actually really like about the Souls games is that you really have to manage what you can see here on the status screen. This is the equip load. So you have a certain value. For instance, my max equip load value is 52, and as you equip items and armor, you will accumulate equip load, and the more equip load you have, the slower your guy moves, and more importantly, the slower he will roll. And we'll see more about rolling in a little bit. Basically, it's the game's dodge mechanic, and you'll see a lot of fights you must use the roll. So managing your equip load is I think it's a fun mechanic. It makes you try different builds and play styles. So we'll see that more as we go. We also have our Tiny Beings ring. Ring made of an ancient tiny red jewel. Grants small increased HP. Ring grants powers large and small. Their discovery and effective use can make one's journey easier. So we know that the undead are corralled in this northern asylum. So we're here awaiting the end of the world, as they say. And we see some enigmatic knight dropping this corpse down here for us. Not sure what's going on with that, but we see it's got a dungeon key on it. Interesting. Why would he be dropping this key down for us? Key to the dungeon, the undead asylum to the north. A mysterious knight, without saying a word, shoved a corpse down into the cell, and on its person was this key. Who was this knight? What was his purpose? There may be no answers, but one must still forge ahead. Alright, so he gave us a way out, but we don't know why. We don't know why we're here. The plot thickens. So you start seeing these cells with these other hollows who may have gone crazy or are just themselves awaiting the end of the world, as they say. These messages on the ground are tutorial tips. They're just going to show you how to do basic stuff. I'm not going to read them all, but this is basically a hallway where they just teach you the basics. Once again, you see more of these undead praying in here. You hear a large stomping sound, like there's some intense monster over here. Sure enough, we see some kind of large demon in this room. Rather ominous. At this point, we have no idea why we're here, what we're doing. We're just learning how to use the camera, and we see this guy. Like, oh great, something to look forward to. So anyway, you can see these hollows are in bad shape, and they're not happy about being corralled here to await the end of the world. Put them out of his misery. So again, they're just kind of teaching you how to attack, how to move your camera around. Ooh. That guy had a bad end. Anyhow, we'll continue. You'll notice that a lot of this game is unfolding the mystery of why you're here and what's going on in this world. It's a lot different than most games in that you don't have these cut cinematics that show you exactly what's going on and why. And that's going to be a turnoff for a lot of people. You know, they're going to say, well, I don't want to have to read all these items to get my lore, and why isn't everything so concrete and spelled out? And, you know, that's part of the allure of the game, is that, you know, a lot of things are open for interpretation. Here we get our first bonfire. These will act as checkpoints for when we die, and later on we'll also be able to do other things here, such as level up and things like that. So we'll go ahead and rest here. So we know if we die for whatever reason, we'll end up here. But yeah, you know, uncovering all these mysteries is one of the joys of the game, and we kind of see towards the end that it can be frustrating not knowing all the answers, but when you start getting little tidbits of those answers that you've been looking for, it's really rewarding. Alright, so you can see it's kind of like a second floor to this place. Go ahead and open this bad boy. Kind of see this large room with pots everywhere. A little sign on the ground. One thing I'm going to be talking about over and over is how you can really see a lot in this game if you look around. So if you take a moment, check that bad boy out up there. You can see there's another one of those fat demons waiting for us up there. So most likely he's gonna come down and have a fun time with us. So normally just running in here you wouldn't really know what's going on, but if you just kind of take your time and look around at the environment, you can see things like this and kind of know what's gonna be ahead, like ambushes and whatnot. So normal new players would kind of rush in and go, oh hey, what's going on in here? If you take a look at this tip, it says get away. So you can see this guy's pretty aggressive. We've got a crap weapon, pretty much crap armor. There's not much we're going to be able to do to this guy. And there's probably so many people that have beat their head against him, trying to beat him. And it is possible to beat him, but what we're really supposed to do is just go through this door. Now, this was... I really like this kind of design here because, it's the developers saying, okay, you need to learn, you need to adapt. If you go and you try to attack this guy, you have no weapon, you have no shield, he's gonna kill you. He's really easily going to kill you. But there's a tooltip on the ground, a little helpful sign that just says, get out of there, do not fight this guy. They tell you what to do, So, as much as people might say this fight is unfair, the reality is if you're just trying to keep doing the same thing over and over and hope for a different outcome, the joke's on you. As long as you're adapting and, reading the tips on the ground, they lay it out for you. So, for instance, get your shield. Okay, so this is a sign that I'm probably going to have a shield, and I'm probably going to have to use it on this guy shooting arrows at me right here. So on this corpse, we find the heater shield. It also tells me how to open my menu, etc. Alright. Let's check out that heater shield, actually. Small metal shield, widely used. It's one of the smallest shield that offers 100% physical damage reduction. What that means, you can see that right here in this physical reduction. That means if I block an enemy's attack, it will not damage me whatsoever. And now, there are some shields that might say, for instance, 80% physical reduction. If I block an enemy's attack, it will only reduce 80% of it. So you can see that shields that have 100% reduction are pretty valuable because I can just take an arrow like this and I won't take any damage. It'll only reduce my stamina. And we'll talk more about stamina management later. Sorry, man, I didn't want to do this to you, but you were supposed to run away. Here we got a long sword, so I'm going to equip this real quick so I can actually kill this guy. Normally this guy runs away from you towards to the end of the other hallway, so you can get your long sword and equip it first, but he didn't run away, so... Alright, so we got this long sword now, much better than the straight sword hilt. Widely used standard straight sword, only matched in ubiquity by the short sword. An accessible sword which inflicts consistent regular damage and high slash damage, making it applicable to variety situations. So this is a good weapon. You can see here the damage value on the left, 80, basically doing 4 times as much damage as a straight sword hilt. But also if you look at the attack type, it says regular slash thrust. Basically what that means is that I can either do like a sweeping slash attack or I can do thrust. We'll talk about more about attack types later and how they can affect enemies differently. For now, let's get going. You'll see these fog gates sometimes. They're used to separate areas and bosses. Teach me how to roll. Go see what's in this cell. So, it looks to be a knight in that cell. Quite possibly the knight that dropped the corpse into our cell. There's no way in because of this collapsed rubble here. But over here looks to be kind of like a loose wall. Anyhow, if you look up there, you can see kind of a round shape. I could see maybe from a distance the silhouette would look like a doorway from here, but if you kind of pan around, you can see that is a boulder. That's a big spherical object. So you can bet that if you start going up these stairs, that's gonna come down at you. Some douche is trying to kill us. What the hell, man? Luckily, we get to go into the cell and meet this knight here and see what he has to say. What's up, man? Did you give us that key? You alright?
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Hmm? Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Yeah, I guess I'll hear you out, seeing as you're wounded and all.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: thou who art undead art chosen. In thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite.
Why, thank you.
Oh, and this.
And he gives us the floor 2 east key for the asylum.
Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Okay, so kind of starting to give us more insight about what we are meant to do. You know, his saying in his family about this exodus, the chosen undead should ring the bell of awakening. And then we don't know what fate that will lead us to, but it says we will know our fate. And considering we don't know what the fuck we're doing here, we want to do that. So we know we want to try to find this bell of awakening and find it. But also he's talking about, you know, being undead. He doesn't want to harm us when he dies. So he knows that when he dies soon, being mortally wounded, that he may come back as an undead and attack. So why he wouldn't come back as a nice peaceful undead like us, I'm not sure. You know, maybe he knows he's going to be hollow.
Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Thanks for the Estus flask, dude. So here it just shows us how to use the Estus flask. That's going to be our main healing item throughout the game. And we see that resting at the bonfire will replenish those. So down these stairs, you can open a shortcut back to that original bonfire. I still have all my flasks and I have full life, so I'm just going to wait. Let's go ahead and look at that Estus flask. The undead treasure these dull green flasks. Fill with Estus at bonfire. Estus flasks are linked to the fire keepers. The dark tales also make reference. An emerald flask from the keeper's soul. She lives to protect the flame and dies to protect it further. So here we're kind of getting some vague lore about the fire keepers. So apparently these keepers, you know, the Estus flask was made from their soul, and so apparently they're all females, protect the flame. So I don't know, you know, is that the bonfires? Is that some other flame? We have yet to see, but we'll hear more about these fire keepers later. Even meet some of our own. We also got this east key. Key to the iron bars on the east side of the second floor of the Undead Asylum. The Undead Asylum is a giant undead prison segmented by countless iron bars. Even if an undead were to escape from a cell, passage to the outside world would not be gained easily. So we kind of know that, well, if we make it out of here, how are we going to get anywhere else? So we press on. So you can lock on to these guys. I don't recommend always playing locked on. But, you know, it kind of frees up your camera controls. And so a lot of times with 100% physical reduction shields, you can literally walk up to these guys, block their attack. You can see how they kind of stagger back like that. That's an opportunity for you to attack them. Like that. Quick poke, dead. And you'll you'll come to find that a lot of the earlier areas that this is a pretty efficient tactic. You can parry too. Parry has to be timed just right, and there's only a small window during the attack animation of the monster to perform it. So, you know, you could sit here with these guys, even, you know, being some of the easiest enemies in the game, and still have a hard time parrying them. And that's fine, you know. If you don't need to parry, fucking don't parry, you know what I mean? This game will try to kill you. I think that's where people think it's difficult. The game will try to challenge you and kill you, so if you can make things easier on yourself, by all means. But I will say that there are some enemies that are really broken by being able to parry them, so getting good at it can be an effective skill. A lot of times too, you can just go behind guys like this and backstab them like I did. And that's actually a separate animation. That wasn't me pressing any buttons. I just did a simple quick attack behind him. And you kind of saw how the animation snapped into place. It kind of snapped into that stabbing him in the back animation. And that's one thing I like about Dark Souls 1 over the other ones, is that it kind of feels... The other ones have smoother transitions, but sometimes you don't know exactly if you did it or not. You know, if I go behind this guy... Oh, here, let me try it. Stop hitting me, man. Oh, see, there's a regular slash. I just want a backstab. You can see how it kind of clicked into place. Like, he stopped his animation, I stopped mine. And even though some would say that that's not smooth, like that needs to be smoothed out a little bit more, I disagree. I like the fact that I know I got that backstab right away. I can tell. And when you're in a backstab animation, you also have a small moment of vulnerability, so that can be used to help you. Like, if you're fighting off a few guys, you can backstab one and know that the other guys can't hit you during that. Alright, so we got this door here. Ah, what? It's locked. It's a common theme in these games. You're going to find a lot of doors that are locked the first time you get to them, and then you'll have to come back later as a shortcut. Alright. See what this message says. Plunging attack. Interesting. Seems like maybe it's telling us that for a reason. So we find ourselves back at the top of this room. And we see that demon still down there. He's ready. Let's try that plunging attack. Oh no. Oh no. Well, apparently you can't linger up there too much. That's another thing I should say I wanted to demonstrate is I want to show my deaths. You know, I don't claim to be some kind of professional at this game. I don't want to edit out all my deaths and make it look like, oh yeah, you know, I never die at this game. Like, I will die. And I want to show you guys that so you understand, like, you know, why dying isn't a horrible thing, and you know, how to learn from it, things like that. I also forgot to explore over here. You can see there's an item up there. It looks to be, you know, we went up and around there, so it looks to be like whatever, that door is probably over there, that locked door. So we can't get up this way, but we know somehow if we get a key to that door, we can get that item. The ball won't come back. It does not respawn, so don't worry about that. So, what have we learned? You know, each death is a learning experience, as they say, so now I know that I should do the plunging attack, and I should probably do it right when I get in there. Kill these guys. Alright, so your souls, if you make it back to them, it'll say recover lost power. That'll give you all your souls and your humanity back. Humanity is another mechanic we'll go over a little bit later. So for now, let's plunging attack this bad boy. You'll see that special animation too of them, like on top of them or around their head area. So with this guy, the best thing to do is kind of circle around back, get a few hits in between his hits. Attack him a couple times. around. Watch out for his sweeping attack, because it can clip you if you're on the side. You can also two-hand your weapon to get in a little bit extra damage. If he does this attack, just kind of roll away, move away, get in a couple hits again. Boom, easy money. A lot of people have problems with him. When you come back to him later, he's easier than the first time you come through here with no weapon. But as long as you're circling behind him and you're making sure you don't get clipped by his side attacks, he's pretty easy. Alright, so he gives us a key, Big Pilgrim's Key, and a Humanity. Check these bad boys out. Humanity, rare tiny black sprite found on corpses. Used to gain a humanity and restore HP. This black sprite is called Humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? So, you know, this is like a tangible, physical thing we can hold, a small black sprite that is humanity. So is this something we have inside ourselves, or is it different? We don't know, but it is rather peculiar, especially considering that we're branded with the dark sign. We also got this Pilgrim's Key. Key to the inner door of the Undead Asylum main hall. Big key belonging to a chosen undead pilgrim. But this chosen undead knows not what this pilgrimage has in store. Ain't that the truth? Let's see what's in this door. Alright. So we know the big pilgrim key opens this door, which means it will not open the other door. So that's kind of a hint that maybe we can come back later if we find a key for that door. Another hint that we're coming back later is we just killed a demon, but I'm still hearing footsteps, man. So most likely there will be a return visit. Alright. Well, we made it out, guys. It's to be just a murky, dreary mountain range. Again, like we were talking about earlier. If we get out, we escape. Where are we going to go from here? Good job. Go straight ahead. Okay. Maybe that's their way of trying to get you to not see this little side path to this item here. I don't know. Soul of a lost undead. So basically there are some consumable soul items that you do not lose upon death. They're just items. So sometimes you can stockpile those. Use them for a rainy day if you need to level up certain stats for to get so you can use a weapon, or you know, maybe you find a vendor and you just need some more souls. They're good. They make it so that if you die and you can't make it back to your souls and you lose all your souls, you still have stockpiled souls you can use if you need to buy something. Anyhow, let's escape this place, man. I'm getting tired of this.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Okay, interesting. In Lordran, level up and kindle at bonfires. Okay, don't quite know what kindling is yet, but at least we know we can level up at the bonfires now. So we're in this interesting place called Lordran. We're going to learn a lot about Lordran throughout our journey, and you can see we're kind of in more of a dense environment than that murky mountain range we were just in. A lot of different places to go from here. And we start to see some NPCs as well, besides that knight we saw. So, we're going to go ahead and continue us on the next episode. We're going to check out Firelink Shrine, talk to the NPCs, see what items we can get around here, and then eventually we will begin our trek up into this aqueduct, into what will eventually turn into the Undead Burg, which is kind of like the first area outside of the Undead Asylum tutorial type of area. So anyhow, just want to say thanks for watching, guys. It's a little bit slower going than maybe some of the other videos, but like I said, we're going to be thorough. We're going to take our time. We're going to get all this lore, or at least most of it, and really sink our teeth into this crazy world and see what Lordron's all about. Alright, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.